boys and girls, it's Mrs. Dersham. I hope that you're doing well. And today we're just going to jump right in. Today we're going to continue practicing and reviewing what Mrs. Strutton shared with you yesterday, which is talking about the importance of noticing what characters are saying and what they're doing, so their words and their actions, in order to better understand the characters. And we're going to continue practicing that by working on some important note-taking skills. So if you look at the screen, it says for our goal today that readers who are looking for specific things set themselves up for success by organizing their notes before they begin reading. So if I know that I'm going to be looking for something particular, like characters, words, and actions, then I have some decisions I have to make as a reader. And I have to set myself up before I begin reading for success. We are going to look at the different ways to organize our notes. But before we do that, I'd like you to look at the right-hand side of your screen. And it says, as readers get older, like you are, they start having to make note-taking decisions. And you have to start making note-taking decisions because teachers do not always supply readers with the graphic organizers needed in order to jot down their notes. So you're having to take on a little bit more of that because as you get older, your teachers are not going to hand you an organizer or tell you what type of organizer to use. You as a reader are going to have to be able to use and come up with the best way to record information. Readers take notes based on whatever the reading focus is. So we know today our reading focus is to continue observing main characters' words and actions, just like Mrs. Strutton did yesterday. And also, readers know that there are important ideas that they're reading that they're going to need to know or remember later on. And so they need to have a way to jot down those ideas. So looking over at the left-hand side, it says ways to organize notes. And there's a left-hand column and a right-hand column. It says types of notes and why you would take those notes. I'm going to ask you to pause your video and to read over the types along with why you would use that type. And when you're done, we can continue. So hopefully by now you had an opportunity to read over the different types of ways to organize your notes as a reader. And today we're going to focus on the T chart at the bottom. The T chart, as it shows, really helps to compare things or to look at what's the same or different. And because I know that our focus is reading and noticing the characters' words and actions, a T chart just makes sense. So I'm going to set up my notes, and you are welcome to set up your notes. And I'm going to write Harvey's, I didn't spell his name right, Harvey's words and actions. And on the left-hand side, I'm going to type words, and I'm going to say what he says. And then I'm going to move over to this side and I'm going to type in actions, what he does. So this is going to help me to think about and organize myself so that when I do start reading and I'm listening or reading the text, I'm going to be able to pause or to put my book down, and I'm going to be able to jot down what I need. So we know today you're going to be reading, I believe it's chapters 11 and 12. And I pulled out just from the first 2 pages some notes that I was able to gather on what Harvey says and does. And one of the things that you're going to be listening to is that he says to Wendell, he says, let's talk about this in private. So Wendell's bringing something up, and Harvey says, let's talk about this in private. And, that tells me something a little bit about Harvey. It tells me that he wants to be more secretive about some of the things that they're noticing. And I also picked up on something else he said. He says, right towards the beginning, if there's a way in, there must be a way out. And that helps me to realize that Harvey is kind of a problem solver. He's willing to keep an open mind. He's willing to, think through how, if there's a way in, there's a way out. So he's really being very logical in his thinking. So noticing what he says is really giving me a better idea of him as a character. I also picked up on a couple of actions. One of the things that he did at the beginning of the reading that you're going to do today is he was remembering a conversation that he had, I believe, with Wendell. And the conversation was making him realize that he has lots of questions about the holiday house, holiday house, with not a lot of answers. And he was thinking, it was a thinking action, but thinking is an action. And so you have to remember that that thinking is a verb. So he was remembering a conversation in the text. He also, it said, Harvey shuddered at the thought of playing trick or treat in a murdered boy's shoes. And so I really picked up on that shuddered part right there. That's an action. He shuddered. It gave him a horrible feeling that he might have been playing in some other child's shoes that was no longer around. And that's something that he and Wendell were discussing. So I want you to think about how you would be interested. And I'm looking back at this option. You might pick boxes and bullets. You might pick jotting notes down on Post-its while you're listening to text. But it's really important that you, and there's no, I have to say, there's really no one correct way of taking notes. Today, I chose a T-chart, but my T-chart isn't the only correct way. As you are practicing note-taking Harvey's actions and words, I want you to pick a method from this chart and try it out. You might want to use Post-it notes. You might want to use boxes and bullets, or you might want to consider a web. You could do a web of actions and a web of words. You could use a T-chart. So think about which method might work for you and try it out. And you please be willing and ready to share what method you used in gathering information about our main character, Harvey, in your Zoom today with your teacher, because your teacher might ask you with which method or which type of note style did you choose, and was it effective? Did it work? So thank you for listening today as we talk about why readers need to be able to organize their notes so that they can take effective notes and gather information about the books that they're reading. Have a great day.